All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what happens when one single tweet blows up into a massive geopolitical issue. We're going to separate what's just talk from what the actual numbers are telling us.
So, it all kicked off with this pretty wild statement from Donald Trump. It was everywhere, right? All over the news. But the real story here, the thing we're digging into, isn't just what he said, it's why he said it.
Okay, so what was really going on here? Was this him admitting, yep, we lost? Well, according to the analysis we're looking at, not even close. The argument is that this was, one, pure sarcasm, a jab at his critics, but two, and this is the crucial part, it was a totally calculated move in a high-stakes negotiation.
So you've got two things happening at once. On the one hand, he's kind of laughing at people in the US who are worried about this relationship. But the real strategic play? It's all about projecting this I don't care attitude. It's like a masterclass in negotiation, right? You never, ever let the other side think you're desperate.
Okay, but this wasn't just some random one-off tweet that disappeared. Oh no, the administration actually doubled down on it, and that's when the rhetoric really started to escalate. And then, things got, well, incredibly aggressive. I mean, just get a load of this from the US Commerce Secretary. This kind of language, our source points out, is just, it's unheard of. It's basically saying India is going to come crawling back, say they're sorry, and just wait for Trump to decide what happens next. Wow.
And believe it or not, the demands went even further. We're not just talking about a small policy tweak here. The analysis we're looking at calls this a demand for complete surrender. Basically, the expectation was for India to completely fall in line, just like some other US allies are expected to.
Okay, let's cut to the chase. What is all this really about? What's the core of the conflict? Well, if you ask the US administration, it all boils down to just one thing: trade in goods.
So, the whole official complaint from the US is built around this idea of a trade deficit. All that means is they're claiming they buy more physical stuff from India than they sell to India, and in their view, that puts them at a disadvantage.
But is that it? Is it really that simple? According to this analysis, not only is it not the whole story, it's a massive oversimplification. In fact, our source calls it a big lie that completely and maybe even deliberately ignores what's really going on with the economy between these two countries.
So to get to the truth, you have to look beyond the shipping containers. You have to look at everything else. We're talking services, revenues from big tech companies, even what Indian students are spending. All this money that's flowing from India to the US that somehow just gets left out of the main conversation.
All right, let's follow the money trail. First up, you've got the giant US tech companies. Think Google, Facebook. Just from their operations in India's huge market, we're talking about an estimated $40 billion a year flowing back to the US. Okay, next, think about all the Indian students studying in the US. The money they spend on tuition, rent, food, that injects another $13 billion directly into the American economy. And we're not done yet. There's another $20 billion from what's called digital intellectual property. So software, movies, streaming services. You start adding all of this up. $40 billion here, $13 billion there, another $20 billion, and the picture starts to look very different.
And this chart really just lays it all out. You see that little bar on the left? That's the US claim, the deficit in physical goods that all the talk is about. But then you look at the bar on the right. That's when you add in everything else we just talked about. The whole thing doesn't just change a little bit. It completely flips on its head.
So what does it all add up to? This is the absolute core finding of this analysis. When you count the whole shebang, goods, services, tech revenue, all of it, the US isn't losing money to India. They're not running a deficit at all. They're actually running a $30 billion surplus.
This table really breaks it down perfectly. Just look at that top line, trade in goods. Okay, yeah, that's where India has an edge. But then look at every single other category. Services, Advantage USA. US companies in India, Advantage USA. Student spending, digital goods, all a massive advantage for the US. It just completely rewrites the narrative and explains that huge overall surplus.
Okay, so now we know the economic reality, which begs the question, how is a country like India supposed to respond when it's facing this kind of intense pressure? Well, the analysis we're looking at lays out a very clear path.
The big takeaway here is that with this data, India actually holds a lot more cards than the rhetoric suggests. They have real leverage. So the key, according to this argument, is to make some strategic moves that send a crystal clear message. Hey, this relationship goes both ways, and you, the US, have a lot to lose here.
So the source proposes this three-step strategic playbook. Step 1, reevaluate key military agreements. Put them on the table. Step 2, start building digital independence. Create your own platforms to lessen the power of U.S. tech giants. And step 3, the big one, use the trade in digital goods as leverage. Maybe impose some restrictions to remind the U.S. just how much of that multi-billion-dollar revenue is on the line.
And all of this really brings us to a massive, fundamental question for geopolitics today. When you have the loud, fiery rhetoric of politics on one side and the cold, hard economic numbers on the other, which one is actually going to shape the future of our world? It's something to think about.